the history and catalogue of the European literature. Research that is quiet to close to impossible to describe it and give justice to its interlace of great work and even greater writers in introduction. However, to give learners a little background information, European literature refers to the literature in many languages among most important of modern written works on those in English, Spanish, French, Dutch, Polish, German, Italian, modern Greek, Russian, Bosnian, and works by the Scandinavians and Irish, important to classical and medieval tradition are those in Latin, ancient Greek, Old Norse, medieval French, and the Italian Tuscan dialect of the Renaissance are also part of its collection.
The medieval period, 500 to 1500, of European literature already saw masterful works like Beowulf, The Song of Roland, and seminal work of Geoffrey Chaucer, The Canterbury Tales. The mentioned work of art was followed by even more popular titles because during the Renaissance period, writers like Edmund Spenser, John Milton, Paradise Lost, and William Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, took to the level of its literary standard into a whole new high. Focus on showing reality as it truly is, with detail and accuracy. Writers included Kafka, Yeats, Eliot, and Ibanez.
Following the medieval period was the Age of Enlightenment 1700 to 1800, and at its center was a celebration of ideas about what the human mind was capable of and what could be achieved through deliberate action and scientific methodology. Many of new enlightened ideas were political in nature. Writers like Voltaire and Jean-Jacques Rousseau were the torch-bearers of Enlightenment literature and philosophy. Naturalism, 1870 to 1920, went deeper than realism by showing causes of human behavior often shaped by environment. Emile Zola was a key figure.
Then came the Victorian period. The name given to the period is borrowed from the royal matriarch of England, Queen Victoria. The Victorian writers exhibited some well-established habits from previous eras, while at the same time pushing art and letters in new and interesting directions. Victorian novelists and poets like Charlotte and Emily Bronte, Lord Tennyson, Robert Browning, Gustave Flaubert, George Eliot, Fyodor Dostoevsky, and Thomas Hardy wrote with simplicity, truth, and tempered emotion. European literature is vast and covers many languages: English, French, Spanish, German, and etc., with influences from classical and medieval traditions.
One of the most influential readers in this period of literature provide inspiration and modern and reader during this period. Crime and punishment is a profound example of how some of the principles of existentialism attempted today. The next literary period is key show that taking can be permanent, leading to ethical decay and personal destruction. Another.
All this period in literature influenced and led to what is now seen in the works of 21st century European writers. 21st century
Reader Franz Kafka has also been associated with 20th century extinctionism, but the name most related to extinction literature is Albert Camus. The modernist period 1910-1965 in literature presented a new way of living and seeing the world. Readers are now free to try new concepts and whether like the use of the unreliable narrator among others. Modernism was set in motion in one sense.
Call of Destiny. Author Alan Fenton. On the summit of a hill in the county of Somerset stands a solitary church tower, bearing witness to the ferocity of nature and of man. It is all that survives of two churches that once stood here. The first was destroyed by an earthquake, the second by the command of Henry VIII. As sunset approaches, subtle details of stone and lichen, and buttress and embrasure, are lost in the deepening shadows. Silhouetted against the evening sky, the stark stone mass of the tower dominates the soft contours of the landscape, uniting earth and heaven. A few yards from the base of the tower, on a mound that marks the crest of the tower, two motionless figures stand, one taller than the other, seen from the valley below. Their dark shapes loom, remote and mysterious. There is a haunting and powerful aura about them, as if they were not people but primeval monoliths or statues of pagan gods. In an ancient burial ground, in some strange way they are beings apart, belonging not to the present time, but to time itself. Nothing stirs. In this hushed moment, the earth and all the planets that only an instant before wheeled round the sun seem to hang motionless in space. Slowly the taller figure raises his hand, as if to release the world from its spell, then touches the boy lightly on the shoulder. Shall we go? It's getting late. They begin the descent. Tell me more about him, says the boy. He was a great leader. His older companion responds, King of Britain, as they called it then. When he came to the throne, the country was under constant attack by its enemies, both from outside and within. Down the steep track they jolt, each for a time absorbed in his own thoughts, the boy's head buzzing with questions. But what exactly did he do? The world had gone mad. The king tried to bring it back to its senses and restore meaning to people's lives. He wanted to give them courage and hope for the future. But to do that, he first had to impose order and chaos. How do you mean impose? The man nods approvingly. You are right to question that word. He questioned it too. The thought of using force troubled him. But after much heart searching, he decided that if mankind was to be saved, he had no other choice. He was given the power to do it. You see, power is formidable that many thought he had been sent to earth by God, or even that he himself was a divine being. And was he? No. So, he was just an ordinary man? A brief silence. He was a man, but no ordinary man. When he was young, he found it hard to believe he had a special destiny. He wanted to lead a fun life and have a happy time, just as most people do. But as he grew older, he came to understand that he was not the same as other men, and that the road he would have to take would be a different one. Because of the power he had? Yes, and because of the way he chose to use it. How do you mean? Other men would have used it for selfish ends, but not him. He decided to fight the forces of darkness and chaos. He was a brave and cunning warrior, but he was also much more than that. A philosopher and a visionary, a wise and humane individual, just and honorable. Those who ruled by terror feared him. Those whom they terrorized worshipped him, and in return he loved and honored them. The ordinary men and women, he had a dream that one day the meek really would inherit the earth, but he knew they could only do it with his help. Was there no one else they could turn to? No one else whom good men and women would follow? No other leader who had the courage and strength of character to meet the challenge? Not that. He was the only one who saw the world descending into chaos. There were leaders in other lands who feared for the future but were too weak, or too corrupt, or simply too afraid to act. As everything around them disintegrated, they stood by helplessly, resigned to self destruction, accepting that mankind was doomed. They had abandoned all hope of changing anything. They no longer cared what happened, but he cared. He did everything in his power to create a new world for mankind. A world based on love and respect and justice. And did he succeed? For a while, until things started to go wrong. The boy is impatient. But how? Why? I want to know everything. It's a long story. Are you sure you want to hear it? Asks the man, teasing his young friend. You know I do. A loving hand rests lightly on boy's head. Then you shall. A mole of thought furrows on boy's brow. Is it just a story? Or was there really such a person? There was, says the man, adding tantalizingly, and maybe again. The boy looks puzzled. There are those who say that if ever he is needed, he will come again. The boy's eyes shine. What will he do? In the twilight, the first star shows itself. A pale silver of moon floats above the horizon. Now, there's a question. The man says softly, what will he do? Well now, I imagine he will try to save mankind, just as he did all those centuries ago. Lord knows, we need saving. The boy nods in acknowledgement, though understanding. You never told me his name. You know it already. I do? From the story books. The boy stands still and looks up at his beloved mentor, puzzled. The man looks fondly down. You want a clue? Yes. You have the same name as that king. For a second or two, the wide eyes dream, catching the starlight, then suddenly sparkle as he laughs with delight. Oh, that king! On an impulse, he cups his hands around his mouth and shudders in silence, crying out the name at the top of his voice. Arthur!